Alright, welcome back to MMGinvest. In today's video, I will just talk about things. I'll cover the market real quick, and I'm going to talk about a couple things I just watched on YouTube that you guys should check out, and I will also cover some news. First of all, this is not financial advice. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. I'm not your financial advisor. Consult your financial advisor. Stocks, extremely volatile, extremely risky. Do not invest in anything you're not willing to lose or lose sleep over. Always have stops in place, emotions out. And, yeah. This is more of an educational channel, learning how to trade. And listening to my opinions and my rants. So, the S&P, it looks like a dead cat bounce for now. I do think it's going to go lower, and I'll talk about that when I cover the news. Gold is at 1,500, which is awesome. It did break above 1,500. It actually, I believe it went to 1,530, which is really bullish. Let me blow it up. And here's a daily. Now it is on a 9 count, so a possible pullback is very likely, and it's already pulling back. Now, how significant is this pullback is the question. The most I see it pulling back will be around 1450, 1460, and then higher she goes, I believe. Okay, the 10-year, it hit 1.6, the interest rate on the 10-year, which is insane. That's why the yield curve's inverting. So when the 10-year interest rate hits that low, the 6-month, 1-year, 3-year, 5-year, they're all higher than the 10-year. And the stock market, well, CNBC, they were freaking out about it, which is the bond market signaling something seriously wrong with the markets. The bond market's pretty much pricing in the top to the stock market. It can still take some months, maybe half a year, something like that to play out. The dollar finally fell. Now the dollar had a nice rally, right? For the past few weeks. Look at this. It rallied from the 95.8 all the way up to 98.9, which is a significant rally for the dollar index versus all other fiat currencies. But look, it finally crashed. And I'll talk about that because it was in the news and why it did dump as it did. But first, let's talk about a few things, all right? So this weekend was fun. I posted a lot of memes, and why am I talking about this? Because I don't want to talk about things like these, right? For many reasons. The tube doesn't like it, and I can't say certain words, right? Because the algorithms will pick it up. So this was good in a way. Now, nobody knows what happened, okay? Nobody knows, really. Maybe the feds took him somewhere else to torture him. Maybe the elites got him, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is, for once, the normies, the masses, somewhat, the ones that, believe all the mainstream and the authoritative narratives, who live in sort of I don't know, I kind of view it as the reality for the masses. They sort of just got a glimpse in a little bit of a reality check to how the world really works, right? So the sheep finally saw that the farmers have a different set of laws. So no matter what happened, right? So even if the feds took them, that doesn't matter because it kind of shows that, there's just different set of rules depending where you are on the hierarchy, right? So I just wanted to point that out. So this is also indicative of towards the end of an economic expansion or the end of an empire, when all the jackals and the thieves and the robbers, basically politicians and the corporate elite, and then the cartels, the mafias, because that's all it is. There isn't just one group, guys. There's many groups. They all fight for power, and they all fight for power and wealth. I mean, most of them have wealth, but they just want more power, and it's all at the expense of the sheep. It's all about the ownership over the livestock. What's the livestock? That's us. And hopefully this could pierce a little bit into the reality they like to create for the sheep, because maybe, just maybe, the sheep, when things get really bad, and they will, I promise you, they're going to get really bad, they will not forget that who's in charge and who's running the show, right? At our expense. Alright, so I just want to comment on that. Alright, this is what I want to talk about. So, this weekend, I watched this, right? It came out 3 months ago, and I didn't know about it. But it's called Panic, the Untold Story of the 2008 Financial Crisis, full episode. It was an HBO Vice special. Now, I hate Vice, but I watched it because I want to see what they're putting out there, right? And, of course, you guys, I'll post this in the comment section below the video, the link, so you guys can watch it. It's still pretty, it's well done. They have big budgets. Now, spoiler alert, of course, what it's really about is all of the people who were managing the financial crisis in 2008 got together, had a nice fancy schmancy dinner, and they laughed and talked about it, right? And they did that in DC probably. And the funny thing is, they shifted blame towards the free market, as I expected, right? And what they did not bring up, which is absolute factual truth, okay, is that Glass-Steagall was repealed during the Clinton era, which let banks and mortgage brokers do whatever they want. Then they never talked about how the Bush administration literally forced banks to give out loans to people who couldn't afford them, because they wanted the American dream for everyone, right? So they're the heroes, right? And then they never talked about how the central bank, the Fed, at that time it was Alan Greenspan, lowered interest rates after the dot-com bubble to like very low. I forgot what. I think it was around 3%, 2%, but they lowered it from like 8% and down, right? And these were the real reasons what helped really create a systemic bubble and risk, right? And it spread globally. Now, yeah, the banks and the firms that were chopping up mortgage-backed securities were a part of it, but they were just, I mean, if the Fed's going to give them a punch bowl and the government's going to force them to give out ninja loans and liar loans and all sorts of mortgages, then they're going to profit off of it. I mean, what are you going to do? Just not do it? I mean, you're not just that, the government is like mandating Freddie Mac and Freddie Mae to do that, right? They never even talked about that. They might have hinted towards it, not barely. Okay. What I got out of the documentary is that One, they do admit that they didn't see it coming, and then they sort of really painted themselves as heroes, and then the scapegoat is the free market and the banks. That's the scapegoat, and they are heroes who saved the economy from the Great Depression. Now, I will give Bernanke and the rest of them, Henry Paulson, some credit. They did stop the Great Depression because the banks would have gone under. Everything would have blown up. That is very, very true. But because they didn't let it blow up back then, what's gonna happen now is gonna be 10 times worse. So what's 10 times worse than the Great Depression? I don't know. The world's never seen anything like that. That's what's so scary about it. Meanwhile, they're having fancy dinner parties, laughing and joking how they're heroes, but in reality, they're not. Also, they act as if they're somewhat incompetent, right? That they didn't see it coming, this and that. Now, it somewhat has me convinced that they might actually be honest about that, and they might actually be incompetent. I do believe that they didn't think that they created such a big bubble that would blow up in 2008. They probably were incompetent to that. Fast forward to today, after all the QE and the TARP and the cash for clunkers, all the free money, right? All the money printing and artificially low interest rates. I believe today they do know that they screwed up and they created an even larger bubble. Today, I believe they know. Okay? Back then, they might have not known. I'm not exactly sure. I know Alan Greenspan knows now that he screwed up. Back then, they probably thought they were totally in control. They thought they're driving the economy like it's a car. And they drove it off a cliff. And temporarily, right now, they imagine a car went off a cliff, and then they blew up like a hot air balloon or something. Now it's flying higher and higher. And it went even higher than the cliff they drove off of, but the balloon's about to pop. That's my analogy I just made up. Alright, so right now, it's different. I think they know they royally screwed up, and they just created an even larger bubble. Now, you have to understand that either indirectly or directly, the government and the Fed is mostly to blame for all this. It's not the free market because we don't have one. We haven't had a free market in who knows, like 100 years. So, but they're always going to shift blame. They always have to. They're never going to look at themselves and blame themselves, right? Yeah, they're the supposed smartest people in the world. They're always in control, blah, blah, blah. And what they're going to do is, this is my takeaway, guys. This is why we're going to have some serious inflation. Because the only thing they can do during the next crisis will be to print money. Because they have to pay people out their entitlements. Because if they don't, the village people are going to come with their pitchforks and off with all their heads. So they're going to have to give out checks. The thing is, they're going to sacrifice the dollar to do so. They're going to have to give out welfare. They're going to have to do modern monetary theory. They're going to have to reliquify the stock market and the banks. Because if they don't, the crash will be so bad that I don't know. Like the ATMs will not. You will not be able to get cash out from them. They'll be run on the banks, all of them, like everything, and the entire economy would come to a halt. And that's when you get millions of people starving and civil unrest like no one could imagine, right? So what they're gonna do is, I think they already know they screwed up, and they do have a plan, and they're just gonna print money, and then as they do that, they're gonna print money, default, and then they're gonna somehow go back to some sort of solid money or gold standard or something. All right, that's the plan. But before they go back to a gold standard, they have to wipe out the debt. How do they wipe it out? Through like their plan is to go very close to hyperinflation, but nothing so crazy that you get a massive civil unrest. But the entire watching this documentary, it kind of scares me because these people seem very out of touch from reality. You have to realize most of us have no idea how they live and what sort of bubble these people live in. Most of these people were born into money, okay? They didn't grind their way to the top or to the middle class. They don't know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. They have no idea what it's like to go grocery shopping. Other people do it for them. They don't see grocery prices. They get chauffeured around. They live up, money isn't even like an object to them. So they don't know. They have no idea what it's like to work hard, and every little dollar matters. So again, the next crisis, the middle class and the poor are going to pay for all the accesses government and the central banks have created. Now, you have to understand the ruling class, right? They always benefit from inflation as well. So in a way, they're robbing the middle class and the poor. That's why the rich always get richer, right? Because they hold property, they hold stocks, okay? They're always invested in the stock market. So when you have inflation, where does it go? It goes into the stock market, and that's where it's gone in the past 10 years. So to them, everything seems freaking gravy, right? Their stocks just keep going higher and higher because that's where all the cheap money is going, into stocks. It's not going into Main Street. I mean, some of it is, but not nearly as much as that has gone into the stock market. So, and they're all buying gold. They're all buying silver. That's enough evidence. That's all I need to know and see to know that they know, and they're not really that stupid. They would rather have the masses believe that even they are negligent and dumb, instead of no, they know exactly what they're doing. Because people are more prone to be pissed off if they find out that they know, and they know they're blowing bubbles, and they know that the government is growing at the expense of everyone. Like, you have to understand, like, the people who want free shit, they don't understand that they're paying for it. It's not just their neighbor who has a little more money than them. They are paying for it as well. They just don't know it. Because evidently eventually you're going to pay for it in the future 10 times more than what you're getting in return today. And it's going to come in the price. It's going to come at the expense of your job as the economy implodes. And it's going to come at the expense of hyperinflation. So you might get your free healthcare, but the healthcare is not going to work. And you're not going to be able to afford to eat. That's how it works. That's how socialism works, pretty much. All right, so that takes me to the second thing I wanted to talk about. And I watched this as well. So Ray Dalio, right? He owns Bridgewater, the largest index fund. He created index funding, and he manages the most assets on this planet. And after watching this interview and some of the articles and some of the things he's been saying lately, he's a globalist, right? He wants no nations. He wants no borders. He just wants corporations running the world, because that's how he profits the most off of it. And it's really crazy. It's hard for us to imagine being these people, because most of us would be happy with like $1 million or something, so we don't have to do a 9 to 5, right? But a lot of us would be very content with that. These people are multi-billionaires, and it's like they can't stop. These people, once you have all the money, what's next? It's just power. Just pure power. That's what's next. And I don't even know what's after that. After that, I guess you just want to be a god. I don't know. It's just, So, like I said, I mean, we are not amongst these people. Their lives are so different from ours. You could not imagine. Imagine walking around having your private little army and, a $100 million yacht, a helicopter. You don't even get driven around limos anymore. It's helicopters and private jets, So this is what I wrote. Ray Dalio created index funding and has the largest fund in the world. Now, index funding makes it easy for average retail investors and retirement funds to just pick a cookie-cutter fund, hence help the stock market bubble grow out of control and not find real price discovery / value for individual stocks. Also, he is a globalist, a group of American and European billionaires who helped on building up China to what it is now and sacrifice Europe and the US to do so because Americans and Europeans, in their eyes, had too much freedom. Freedom equals competition, and they have monopolies. Like, you have to understand. So these index funds, most of these index funds only go higher because most of the investments are in these 500 Fortune companies. And these 500 Fortune companies are international companies. They're not US-based companies anymore. And these companies are like, they want global dominance, okay? And they have monopolies, and their monopolies have already taken over, like Europe and US. Now they want to go global. So, yeah, and China was built up by this, a central bank went into China, and the US definitely went in there, and Europeans, and the IMF and all that. And they helped create China, okay? And China has become the world's, industrial manufacturer. And that's already globalism, right? One nation, giant nation of robot human slaves that work for peanuts build everything for the rest of the world. You see, these people don't care about your freedom and your nation and your religion. They actually view all of that as in the way of their goal of this global crony capitalist authoritative monopolized it's really hard to explain. It's a global elite that kind of I don't even want to say it, but the Saudis, right? Those people, those families there, they're like royalty. They could do whatever they want and no one could stop them or say anything. And that's kind of how I feel like the rest of the ruling class want on a global scale. And that ties into all the social problems today, right? They push a lot of infighting from, your culture, your religion, to the sexes, to destroying the family unit and all that. All that division is created so there isn't a strong class of citizens to fight back. Because if everyone's different from one another, then you have a low trust society. So therefore people don't trust each other, so they can't get together, and the masses can't, instead of looking at the ruling class, they look at each other as the enemy. Do you understand the divide and conquer technique? All right. So there you go. Yeah, and that social credit system, the U.S. has it right now. It's just done by corporation. All right. That's why I have to talk like this. It's ironic, right? I can't say what I want to say. There is no freedom of speech, right? So, yeah. What else? Okay, so recent news. I'll post a link of that video as well in the comment section of Ray Dalio. So Trump slams away always wrong. Fed says not thrilled at strong dollar. So Trump's not thrilled with the strong dollar. Neither is the Fed. So guess what? The dollar tanked, which helped gold again, right? That's why investing in gold and silver physical and mining stocks, go to my website, MMGinvest.com, for mining stocks, right? It's the most sure investment, I believe. No matter what happens, market goes down, your stocks go up. Market goes up, your stocks go up. The market goes sideways, they might go up. They might dip, pull back. You might get pullbacks and dips, but the trend is we're in a bull market for precious metals. All right. And the dollar is strong right now. It's very strong. Imagine once the dollar starts falling, and it will. You'll see. What else? Trump says U.S. will not make a trade deal with China. Now, you guys have to understand the economic warfare that's happening. There's no reason for Trump to go against China unless he really is trying to rebuild the U.S. Okay? That's just fact. There's no other reason why he would do that. The economic warfare is Trump's like, we're gonna make China blow up first, and then a capital flight will come to the U.S. They'll buy us a little more time, and hopefully we could rebuild our manufacturing base. I don't think he understands that he literally has to cut regulations and lower taxes and probably cut the size of government by a lot to rebuild the U.S. manufacturing base and economy. And honestly, it's a little too late, and the bubble's too big. And the debt, there's just too much debt. And society's too... the U.S. society, it's become too docile, too lazy, and too entitled for him to probably pull it off, to be honest. Like, try to explain to Americans that, listen, asshole, you're going to go through a Great Depression for the next 3 to 5 years, so everything could reset itself and we could rebuild the nation. No American's going to, they can't get their hamburgers and fries and their cheap Netflix and their corn, and high fructose corn syrup, the cheap shit that keeps them happy. They can't go to ball games and everything that's bread and circus, right? Bread and circus from the Roman, when in Rome, right? Most Americans feel like they're entitled. It's unbelievable. That American spirit of, working hard and, reaping what you sow, and it's gone. It's gone. And who do we have to blame for that? The boomers. That's, it's funny, the boomers, oh, you millennials and Gen Xers don't have grit. Well, you raised us, I don't want to get into it. But, yeah, I mean, they wanted their $300,000 homes and their appreciation of property and their fancy cars, and they gave up everything so they and they're entitled and their pensions and their retirement. So you guys know. U.S. President Donald Trump said that while talks are progressing with Beijing, no deal has been reached for now. Blah blah blah. I don't think there's going to be a deal. I mean, like I said, China, they're positioning themselves as the next empire. The only question is this going to turn into a real, like, hot war? And that is the worst case scenario. I really hope not. But what tends to happen is when economies start crashing, especially like an economy like the US and Europe that are in giant bubbles, they need an scapegoat, and they're going to point the finger at, it's easy to just say, yeah, it's the Chinese. But I don't know. I don't think the public buys anything at this point. I think in the end, I think everyone's just going to be out for themselves. They're going to pillage as the Titanic sinks. Like, it's like they're grabbing all the silverware as the entire damn ship is sinking. Which is hilarious, right? Because you're going to drown anyways. Alright. So that's pretty much it for now. Smash some likes. Leave anything in the comment section. And please share my videos. It's the only way my channel grows. And I will continue to do this. And I really appreciate that. It means more than anything. Check out everything in the description section. There's free chat groups. Go to my website. The product pays for itself, right? It pays for itself. And it might really turn out to be one of the best decisions ever. I'm going to make another video. A lot of you guys, for some reason, I see a lot of people in the free chat room. They constantly post charts with lines everywhere, and they're constantly talking about trading. Like, I don't understand that. First of all, don't you burn out? Second of all, there's this thing called overanalysis that causes paralysis, and overtrading. Overtrading and overanalysis wrecks. That's like one of the biggest pitfalls in trading. Trading isn't about the harder you work, the more money you'll make. It's not. It's about it's about managing your own emotions and thinking critically. And most of the time in trading, 90% of the time, especially in swing trading, you don't do trading. You do research. And you do critical thinking and you analyze. But you don't have to do a lot of TA. The TA is the easiest part. Guys, I don't look I walk into my office, I do some TA in the morning, I might do some at around noon, and then I'll do some at night. But it's like I don't even spend that much time. Most of my trades are profitable, and it's all it takes. Most of the time I'm doing research, or I'm looking at economic events. I don't take news too seriously, but news, a lot of news does move the markets these days, especially with Trump. So, and yeah, I mean, a lot of you guys are just non-stop, like, doing TA. Listen, if you're a day trader and you keep posting all these charts, nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. They don't know that you're posting a 15-minute chart. They don't know you're posting a 5-minute. They don't know you're posting an hour. I read a lot of things that people are saying. I'm like, what is he talking about? Like, nobody knows. Why are you posting this? Are you just trying to get attention? I don't know. All right, but over trading will wreck you, and there's fees, right? So, and the more you trade, the more mistakes you make, and more likely you'll lose all your money. That's why I swing trade. All right, so I have to also make a video on diversification, portfolio allocation, and strategies. I'll probably make that tomorrow. Smash some likes, share the video, comment anything in the comment section. I will comment back. Until next time.